It was the very same ground where Alan Border lifted Australia's very first World Cup in 1987. Of course, that was soon followed by the catastrophe, I want to say, of 1996. Many more memories, and then eventually we get Marlon Samuels and Carlos Brathwaite. After all of that, today could have been a very, very good opportunity for South Africa to etch themselves in the history of this never ending folklore of the Eden Gardens, where we saw the wonderful partnership of the likes of Rahul Dravid and VVS Lakshman. Something similar we could have possibly seen from Henry Klassen and David Miller. We were this close. But all that said, it was a remarkable game of cricket, and I think it's safe to say that the better team won and the better team have made it to the final.
Yeah.
Unfortunate that South Africa just cannot shake off the choker tag. It's not because they lost, it's the way they keep losing. Here to discuss that on today's episode of The Morning After, the second last, the penultimate episode of The Morning After, basically, with Fardin Kibria. Fardin, let's get started.
Yeah. I mean, let's get into it. South Africa kept themselves in the game for most parts, but yeah, just never had enough in the tank.
Starting from the top, losing 4 wickets for 24 runs at what, 11 or 12 overs? How shambolic a start is that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think you put it right. South Africa, if anyone asked them what they would have wanted to do in this semifinals, is probably bat first, right? Because they're such a team that they've put on all these runs batting first throughout this World Cup. So if you ask them at any stage at this World Cup, they would have bitten your hand off to bat first. So to do that and then essentially butcher it themselves where they lost four of their top order batters um, under like 30 runs, and that puts so much pressure on Heinrich Klaassen and David Miller to bat out almost 30, 40 overs at that point. And obviously David Miller did a really good job. Heinrich Klaassen somehow just played across a straight one. I don't know how that's possible for someone like him, who's probably one of the best players of spin right now. But yeah, South Africa pressure game, semi-final, ICC tournament, just somehow finds a way to lose it all the time.
All things considered, the partnership between Henry Klassen and David Miller was actually exceptionally good,
Yeah.
given the circumstances under which they had to start. And as you
Yeah.
said, they're both good players of spin, so that certainly helped. Having said that, how much did it hurt for the partnership to break when it did? Because they were just starting to get going. They were just starting to get into that danger category for Australia, but they never did. And one brought
Yeah.
another. Basically, Travis Head got 2 wickets in that over.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was gonna say. I think more than losing Heinrich Klaassen at that moment, it's the fact that they lost 2-2, um, because Marco Jansen just went back to a full one that just turned and hit him on the pads. And the thing with Jansen, this is my problem with Jansen. He's actually a good enough bowling all rounder, but sometimes he'll just find ways to get out where you can tell he's like super nervous as a batsman out there. Against Netherlands, we saw he was like moving away from the crease, and he was defending almost from fourth stump, like a stump beside leg stump, essentially. So yeah, I mean, all credits to Klassen and Miller. Really good partnership. Really started to put that pressure back on Australia. Another 40, 50 runs would have made a whole lot difference. That could have been the deciding factor in this game. And if they could have put 40 more runs, if Klassen got a 80, Klassen got a 70, something like that, yeah, it would have been a whole different game. So yeah, unfortunate. It didn't turn out like that, but seems to be the theme for South Africa.
Can we call this one of the greatest innings we've seen from a South African in a knockout stage game?
Yeah,
from
I
David
think
Miller.
even Miller himself, he was quite humble about it. Don't want to talk about his not too much. But yeah, I think even he understands that this is probably the best you've seen from a South African in a knockout stage. We've talked about this, I guess, earlier in the tournament that Miller's just kept looking good as he's aged, especially in the last 12 to 16 months. I don't think I've seen Miller play that well since he had like one of the breakthrough IPLs many years ago. So yeah, I mean, he really took the pressure on himself and he wanted to see them home. Got out at the boundary, pretty. I mean, there's not much you can do. On a different day, he gets more wood on that. That's going over the ropes, right? So he did his part. He tried to keep it positive, but exceptional innings. If he got out when he came earlier, South Africa wouldn't have even anything to bowl at. So, yeah, I mean, amazing innings. Would have loved a red ink, I think, but it's okay.
I mean, more than the red ink, I think he would have loved to bat the 50 overs and ensure South
Yeah,
Africa get to a better score, maybe at least 230. And
yeah,
the way things turned out, maybe 230 would have been enough, just enough. And
yeah,
speaking
yeah.
of that, David Miller, he sort of had a quiet tournament so far. 255 runs, I want to say, in 9 matches, 9 innings before this. And then on his 10th innings, in possibly the most difficult conditions, both in terms of batting and in terms of uh, the way the bowling attack
Mm,
was performing with the new ball
yeah.
and the circumstances under which he had to come out to bat. Incredible, absolutely incredible innings. This is what we've come to see from him, as you said, in the last few years. He really has evolved into this proper mold of ODI middle order batter. Now,
That
before
experience from Gujarat Titans, I think, really helps because Gujarat Titans has put a lot of responsibility in him in that mid order role. So obviously, he's taken some responsibility in the past 2 seasons with them across India. So that experience really comes into play, and he showed it why he's so valued now.
for the seventh wicket partnership, Gerald Coetzee was playing a very good supporting role to David Miller. All
Yeah.
of a sudden, he just throws it away. All he had to do was review that. They had 2 reviews left. How
This
ridiculous is
is
that?
this is the thing. Like sometimes you feel like you've hit it. Sometimes if you've hit it and you don't even you might not even feel it, right? Um, with Kutze, it hit his shoulder, I think, right? So my thing is, bro, a ball at that speed is hitting your shoulder and you don't understand that it's obviously gone off your body.
And
Um,
no glove contact there.
no glove contact, right? Like nothing obviously came off it. And it, I think in a way he was trying to save a review for Miller, but like you said, they had 2 reviews left. You can burn one if it comes to it. You're the last recognized batting pair. Obviously, there's Maharaj after it, but you know, why wait for someone else? You're there. You're on 19. You're 19 of 38. You're seeing the ball well. You're freaking like this is just it's just childish. We've seen a couple of those where guys didn't review. Mitchell Stark last game, not last game. Mitchell Stark the game versus Afghanistan. He didn't even nick it. It hit the stumps and went to the keeper, and he just walked away.
Who are you saving the reviews for
Who
exactly?
exactly? Like you haven't hit it. There's no way you can. If you, I can tell you as a player, when you've nicked it, you know you've nicked it. I don't care how fast it is. Sometimes, on a very odd case, you might not feel it, and Ultra Edge picks up something balance. Like you don't know. I might think I didn't hit it, but Ultra Edge will pick up some kind of murmur from somewhere. Maybe I did hit it. Who knows? But when it's smashing your edge,
Now let's talk about the Australian new ball bowling attack. We were saying that they're not exactly having a very good time in the tournament. They turned things around when it mattered the most, and the South African batters, horrible start from them. The top order, only Markram getting into double figures and getting out for 10. The other three, nothing, absolutely nothing.
Yeah, Rassi, absolute struggle out there. 6 of 30, 31, something like that. Quinton, obviously, last ODI innings if for him. He's retiring after this. But yeah, I mean, Bavuma, same story as throughout the World Cup, never really got going in any game. And then I think this is like the best case scenario for Australia. Like their bowling attack, essentially, like the new ball bowling attack, came good at the right time at the right place. Yeah, Pat Cummins was getting slapped around this whole World Cup. He was going maybe six and over regularly, or even more. Stark, he's gotten gone for a few. Hazelwood's also gone for a few after that India game where he took maybe three to start off against India, but then yeah, after that, he's gone. He's gone for a few. So for them going into the final, I think this is like the best case scenario where they have their three big quicks looking good. And like we said, I think we've talked about this quite a bit where South Africa's top order is not a joke. It's a really good top order batting lineup. And, to basically have them four down for 25, 26, something like that, basically tells you you've bowled really good balls to get these guys out or to keep them, to shut them out in one end. And that's what happened with Rassi. He just couldn't find a gap for his life. And especially Warner and Labuschagne, I think, in the inner circle, they fielded us exceptionally well, never let anything through. So we'd always talk about it. All of these things contribute to the success of the team. Unfortunately, there's no one to explain that to Bangladesh cricket.
Didn't it feel like South Africa, whatever momentum they gained thanks to David Miller, they lost most of it just because they couldn't bat out their full 50 overs?
Sure. Yeah, I think when you never, as a batting first situation, when you leave balls or overs out there, which is what happened with South Africa, you're always feeling like you're short, right? Because the way cricket is nowadays, even if you have two, three balls left, you're thinking, oh, I could have hit maybe 10, 12 of that because I get two boundaries of that. That's 10 runs, 12 runs, right? So, yeah, it's like when you leave balls or overs out there, it always deflates you a little. And like you said, 230 on this track today, because they had Australia seven down, 230 would have been maybe enough, maybe because the way South Africa was picking up wickets towards the end, they weren't giving as many runs and they were picking up wickets consistently. So yeah, I mean, you rue the fact that you didn't play out your overs, and you always hindsight, you always think about maybe 10 more runs. You have something to pull at.
Australia starting the innings the way they do best, Travis Head and David Warner taking the attack straight to the South African bowlers, leaving them with nothing to work with, basically.
Yeah,
That's the best strategy?
yeah, I think the thing is, what we've seen with Rohit Sharma is essentially if you start on a positive note early, it allows the rest of the guys coming in to take their time and build the innings and things of that nature. Because Travis Head has gone at 10 and over with David Warner, they're 60 for nothing at 6 overs before Markram came and took the first wicket in the first ball of the seventh over. But that's what happens. Uh, they're already searching for answers in the sixth over in a 10-over power play. When you have 4 overs left and the opposition's already searching for answers, that means you're on top. You've got the upper hand here. And yeah, that's Obviously, Travis Head is someone that's weaker against spin, especially off spin and wrist spin. But I think he's really good against left arm spin in all regards. Just got a really good ball from Keshav Maharaj today. But what we've seen from him time and time again, even in Test cricket, is he's really good against pace. He loves pace on the ball. And, this is the same attacking style. I think you'd agree this is the same attacking style he plays in Test cricket too at number five, where he counterattacks and basically brings Australia into the game, even if they lose a couple with Smith and Marnus quickly.
The big bash breed of cricketer that he is.
Yeah.
That's his game. Similar to Warner, like again,
Athlete strikers
they
is,
love attacking, and
yeah.
that's what they realized should be their go-to plan just to start with, and it
I think
worked. It worked perfectly
that's
well
what
for them.
they've really excelled in the fact that I think Marnus and Smith were quite open to the fact that yeah, we'll bat at 4 and 5. That's fine because Mitch, Warner, and Head can literally get you 100 runs in 10-12 overs, and Marnus and Smith and can come and just do their thing, and then you're very much into the game. So I think as senior players, the ability for them to basically swallow up their pride. Steve Smith's batted at three for how many years? I don't even remember. Since 2014 when he came back, he's been batting at 3-4, right? So for him to slot down a number just so they can have Mitch Marsh bat at three, speaks volumes about him as a character too.
Credit to South Africa, you would say. Once they got that first wicket, they just did not stop attacking, not till the very last ball was bowled.
Yeah, I think they fielded exceptionally well. And they just needed that first breakthrough. They would have liked it to come a little earlier because, especially, they would have seen how Afghanistan attacked against this team, especially with swing and just a hard length. I think they bowled a little too full early on, which let Travis Head and David Warner basically throw their hands, or they bowled a lot of extras, which really kept taking the pressure away from the opening bowler batters. Um, but yeah, I think tough for Gerald Coetzee. I think he gave it his all. Um, Tabraiz Shamsi obviously kept him in the game. Big wicket of Maxwell with that one turning in. But I think, do you think they could have maybe brought on Markram a little, maybe even an over earlier? But I mean, I think he came on when it was right. It's just the bowlers weren't effective. But I think my main question might be towards the end where they waited a little longer before he came back on again. They gave an over from Coetzee, maybe too many at that stage, where Cummins is pretty good against pace, I would say.
You could say that, but on the other hand, you could also argue that Coetzee was actually bowling really well. He did, I want to say, induce two wickets. He forced
Yeah,
those shots out of them. He
yeah.
forced English onto the back foot. The Yorker got to him. That shot from Steve Smith, how
Oh, it's
uncharacteristic was that?
but Steve Smith, when he tries to hoik to mid wicket, he looks like a tail ender. He just needs to stop playing that shot because
He
it
reverts
just
back
looks
to that
so
bowling all
ugly.
rounder Steve Smith we used to
Yeah,
see
yeah,
at the
yeah.
beginning of his career.
Anytime he tries to slug it, basically hoik it to mid wicket, it just looks super ugly. But that's what he said. He created those errors out of them, and I think at this age, for him to, especially as a right-handed seamer or pacer, he's quick through and through. For him to come around the wicket and be brave to challenge them against the short ball, against the uh, eight 8 inch or something that they call it length nowadays, where you're pushing guys on the back foot, you're making them brought forward a little. So he's done that really well, and like you said, honestly, English look really good till that over where Coetzee was working him up, short ball that he ducked, and then one he tried to fend off, and then it's just straight 150 Yorker. See you later.
South Africa have really found an asset, haven't they? 23-year-old, good pace, good accuracy, gets the bounce. More importantly, a bowler with a big heart can be a very useful batter at number 8 or even number 9. He's
Yeah,
gotten 9 wickets in test matches already in the two tests that he's played.
yeah,
So exceptional young talent that they have unearthed.
yeah. I mean, we talk about South Africa's system, and it might be faulty and stuff here and there, but I think there are young talents that have been coming in the last 2 or 3 years, 2 or 3 under 19 World Cup iterations is better to say. They're quite good. There's good talent there, Brevis, Tristan Stubbs, um, now Quits' 2020 World Cup squad. Um, but I think for him, the biggest asset is how he's essentially adjusted to India very, very well. 21 wickets, 22 wickets at the
To
World Cup.
finish a tournament like this with
Yeah,
20
with
wickets, when you come in
yeah,
with basically no experience at
no
all behind
experience
you,
at all. Yeah, it's massive, and I think he's got a lot to offer to South African cricket over the years. And if Nokia's fit, I see him and Nokia playing together honestly, and that is a threat, 100%.
that bowling partnership between Keshav Maharaj and Tabraiz Shamsi, every single delivery they were bowling for a wicket. Every single delivery.
Shamo just wanted wickets. That's all he
Nothing
cared
else.
about. This guy did not want anything else. And one of the things you were saying in one of our group chats in the morning was how he wasn't afraid to try different deliveries, which is what the main thing is in these scenarios where the surface is conducive to you as a spinner. This is where your skills gotta come out. You gotta become expressive. You gotta start trying things. You have to see what works on this pitch, because if you find those 2 3 deliveries that are working really well on this pitch, and you are a good spinner, you're a world class spinner, and Shamsi by all right is a class wrist spinner. He found 2 or 3 deliveries that were doing the job for him, and he had them all at sea. There's a couple of catches that you can say on other days they're sticking on the right hand, sticking on the left hand, and but yeah, he bowled exceptionally well. And Maharaj, as soon as he got Travis's wicket with his first delivery of the day, you just knew he was in for a big day, because he bowled his heart out, and you can see how much it meant to them. I think as a squad, they really wanted to do this. Um, Unfortunately, Harshal Gibbs gets the final say, and you'll continue to talk shit about the guys on Twitter.
Let him.
Uh,
How many World Cup finals
how
has he
many?
taken South
Yes,
Africa to?
exactly.
He literally is
Yeah,
responsible. Again, I'm sorry.
I get it.
I was actually a
But
big fan of Harshal Gibbs growing up. Sorry, Virat Kohli. We know he used to. I
yeah,
idolize
yeah,
him as well.
idol,
But
idol.
the whole argument is, come on, man. You know how difficult it is for South Africa to cross that line. You've been there. You've been there a couple of times. You know that it just doesn't work always.
And he seems so salty. This guy's like talking about, oh, 213, ha ha ha, that is not enough. And I think someone replied to them
You
on
were in the
Twitter.
squad when they couldn't chase that down. You literally were
He's
there in
he's
the
like
playing
he's
11.
like he's like, yo, you guys scored 213 and the match was tied. Why are you talking? Yeah, I was like, bro, literally, like, I don't know why you're talking. Bro, they fought their hearts out. Yeah, they didn't get enough runs, but they freaking took 7 wickets still to make a game out of it.
And they didn't
They
stop
kept
trying, as we keep
no,
saying, they didn't
no,
stop trying till the
100%.
very last delivery.
And honestly, man, I mean, yeah, Bavuma, you can say he didn't get any runs, whatever, but fielding setups, his ability to take inputs from Miller, Decock, Markram, um, was quite brave with his tactics, I would say. Really tried to make something happen rather than let things happen. You know, bowling changes, fielding fielding setups, a lot of things. I think, yeah, like we said, they tried their hearts out. Australia just better team on the day.
Can we also say that South Africa, this is the best 11 they could have picked for this match, all things considered?
Yeah, yeah. I think you think about what Janssen brings. We did say, Fitluquayo obviously had a really good last game, but you think about Janssen's ability to hit the deck with the new ball, and then his ability to bowl those slowers and cutters towards the back end. They're thinking, oh, if we bowl first, those will come into effect, and you're not really ever preparing to have 10 batters, right? Because if you're going with that mindset, then it's really not the safest place for you to be, because you're hoping that someone will do it for you on the day, whereas you should really hope that your top 5 6 batters are going to take that responsibility. So yeah, I think they've picked the best 11 that they had available to them. um, there isn't one change I would have made myself. So yeah, it's just gave it their all.
Now let's talk about South Africa's. It's a very difficult topic to address sometimes. South
Uh,
Africa's choking nature, which just doesn't seem to leave them. The half chances, the few missed opportunities here and there, even Coites's review, which he didn't take. All these things culminating into their loss at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think you look at it like we said, 3 balls you don't bat, or 2 balls you don't bat. You're thinking about, oh, I could have had 10 runs maybe. You think about Koitse, if he stayed in, maybe he would have had 10 more runs, 15 more runs. You think about, oh, on a different day, this one sticks, that one carries to Bavuma, the other one, Reza Hendricks gets his hands underneath it, and he takes that catch. I think it was Travis had that one. So I think it's just South Africa just gets a lot under pressure in these situations, and I think that track record haunts them time to time. I saw it live in Adelaide last year. All they had to do was just win against Netherlands, and they just kept going into this shell. Just kept going, just kept going, just kept going, and at a point, Logan Van Beek and Paul Van Meekeren were just yelling at each other in the fields to the point because they were just trying to motivate the guys and everything, because they knew South Africa were just digging themselves into a hole, and then Brandon Glover came and took 3 wickets out of nowhere. Massacre. So I've seen it live now. I know they just put themselves under pressure. And similarly today, I think, they just succumb to their own pressures essentially.
Quinton de Kock, I know this was possibly his last ODI, so we got more to talk about him. But before we get more into his batting, did it feel like Quinton de Kock keeping to pacers versus Quinton de Kock keeping to spinners were just two different keepers today?
Yeah, that Cummins drop it. That was a big inside edge. I think you think he gets that wicket at that time.
I know the deviation was a lot, but
It,
he
it's
got it on the
it's
second gather.
yeah,
He just had it.
that's my thing. Good wicket keepers, inside edge, they take it. They make it happen, because especially if you think about the Maxwell reverse sweep, which they appealed for and reviewed for, he got to the really well. But I think, did he look a little out of it to you? Maybe at some points where he's thinking, "Oh, this game is slipping away," and that's kind of just taking his concentration out of it. Especially when the spinners were bowling, because when the seamers are bowling, Quids is coming at you at 160. You don't have time for those thoughts. But when the spinners are bowling, you have a little more time between deliveries, or you have a little more time to gather the ball. I just felt like at times he was just thinking, "Oh, this is slipping away. This is slipping away."
And it's possible once you underperform with the bat, you've had such
A
an
good World Cup.
obnoxiously good tournament,
Yeah.
and then you underperform with the bat terribly in the semi-final. It kind of
Yeah,
gets to you as a keeper as well. As a senior player, your last game, all those
all that
thoughts
plays
start
into
getting
it.
into your head.
Yeah,
These are just I don't want to use that term easily, but these are just demons end of the day that get to players sometimes. I'm not saying
Yeah,
that's exactly what happened to De Kock.
yeah, yeah.
It kind of looked like he was, as you said, not exactly in the best frame of mind, and unfortunately, not a new tale for South Africa.
Well, is in terms of capacities, Kolkata one of the biggest for India?
I think it's the second biggest, and it might be the most densely packed. I got to double check that because biggest is obviously PM Narendra Modi Stadium in
Yeah,
Gujarat,
yeah, yeah.
but it's one of the most densely packed stadiums. And funnily enough, it used to be even more densely packed. The
Oh, they
1996
removed.
carnage was one of
Yeah,
the reasons why
yeah,
they
yeah.
actually
They.
changed the structure.
Yeah, yeah. No, so I was reading a tweet from Bharat Sundaresan. He's a Crickbuzz correspondent based in Australia, and he was saying that the local Indians in Kolkata and like the Bengalis essentially in Kolkata, they were cheering for South Africa. Essentially,
Yeah,
any
you could
dot
see that.
balls, any
All
dot
the green
balls,
jerseys.
and yeah, yeah, any dot balls, any wicket. These guys were in it. They were cheering up the South African players from the shot. So I mean, maybe they just want South Africa at the final. Easy ride for India. Who knows?
I wouldn't blame them. In all honesty, I really wouldn't blame them. Um, but I think now we can look at Australia a bit more. Quinton de Kock, farewell to you. Thank you for the years of entertainment. We wish you stuck around longer, but it's okay. It
Yeah,
is
it
what
just
it is.
never looked like it was gonna stick
We
around
don't
that
want
long. But
anyone to play looking like they don't want to be out there.
they were exactly, yeah. So whatever years we get out of Takeoff in T20Is and stuff, and in T20s, we'll cherish those 100%.
Looking at Australia now, again, they find ways to get over the line always. But would they be a little disappointed that other than Travis Head, no one really batted responsibly? Even Travis Head, again, while he was responsible, he was also attacking the entire time.
Yeah,
That's just his game, which is fine. His game, as we discussed, is counter-attacking. That is fine. But no one else really played that responsible role, and it's a good thing that Pat Cummins and Mitchell Stark sort of reassure them that okay, our tail is long. Our
yeah,
8 and 9 are in any other team possibly a number 7.
yeah,
So that's a good thing. That's a reassuring
yeah,
thing. But even with
yeah.
that, does it not haunt them a little that in every game they're getting one batter or maximum two that takes responsibility? They're not having any of their main
Main
batters,
batters.
build those partnerships one after the other, have like 3 or 4 batters perform in the same game. They just haven't had that as much.
Freaking Marnus Labuschagne needs to get slapped up in the change room. What the hell was that reverse sweep? That is so unnecessary. One, two, that is against the turn. This guy spent like at least maybe I don't know how long he spent, but he spent quite a bit of time with Maxwell the day before when they had their net sessions, and I saw some of the pictures, and he was working with Maxwell on the reverse sweep. That doesn't mean you gotta come and play it the next day, guy. You're in a good situation. You're there with Smith. You guys are taking the ship home.
He
Just
got
gotta play.
very lucky with that reverse sweep
Yeah, yeah,
because
like
had that gone out, I know he eventually got out maybe 3 or 4 runs later, but had that
yeah.
gone out, it would have been even more dangerous for Australia.
No, no, he got lucky with the one where he went on the back foot. That's the one where it was
But didn't
just
he get
impact
out?
outside.
Sorry, sorry, maybe I'm misremembering, but
No,
didn't he
he
get
got
out the
out on the
unorthodox
reverse
way?
sweep. He got out on the reverse sweep because umpire's call on because umpire's
Right,
call
right,
was
right,
out,
right, right. Sorry, sorry, sorry. I
and it
misread
was
the
just
glove.
clipping the stumps. Yeah, but even the one before that where he got lucky, he, on naked eye it looked like he was outside, obviously, but on impact was umpire's call. But why are you going backward? You're not a backfoot player. You're not 100 classing. Why are you doing this? Right. So sometimes, like we talked about as a preview, that are you gonna pick Stoinis or are you gonna pick Labuschagne? When he does something like this, it doesn't help his case, no matter how many runs he scores in the World Cup, because they're thinking clutch moment. If I have Stoinis to hit 3 sixes out of like 10 balls, and he gets 18 of 10. That's better than Martinez getting 18 of 25, essentially, in a sense, right? And he can bowl maybe a few overs here and there. So, and then Steve Smith, obviously, random hoik out of nowhere. Maxwell just somehow cannot score against South Africa. I think he averages like 9 against South Africa. That's like a tail-ender's average.
And it's hard
Uh,
to fault Maxwell when he gets out in
yeah,
that fashion versus, someone like
it was a
Lavasher or
half
someone like
tracker.
Smith.
He just missed it. It was a half tracker from Shamsi, right? He just absolutely missed it, and
You know he will have a swing at it. He's
yeah,
Maxwell. That's the whole
yeah,
point.
100%. And I think just like you give the license to Travis Head, um, David Warner, Mitch Marsh, you also give him the license. But like you said, they only have 2 or 3 guys standing up every game, and a big part of that is 4 out of your 7 batters have license. So if they don't come good, you're 4 down in no time. So those are the factors they will need to look into going into India's game, the final 2003 repeat. I already called it, but
By law of averages, you probably are better off playing Stoinis. Him and Inglis could probably have a really good game. They haven't had one yet, so it's
yeah,
probably their turn now.
yeah, I think
They're doing musical chairs anyway, so might as well.
Stoinis has played IPL finals. Stoinis has pulled it off multiple times in the IPL. He might not have done it in the ODI format for a couple of years now. He hasn't looked that good. He hasn't. He's looked good where he scores 30s and 40s, but he hasn't scored a 50. But like we talked about, you take a gamble. He scores 25 or 30. That's enough for you on that day, maybe. Especially at Ahmedabad. Can someone get injured so Aksar Patel can come in? Ahmedabad court.
Everyone's looking at you, Prasid Krishna.
Yeah,
It's funny. Imagine Aksar coming in, and I think if he did, I know he's not even in the squad, but if he did, he would replace Surya Kumar Yadav, all things considered.
100%. Aksar Patel's a good enough batsman these days. Easily, easily. Surya Kumar is getting one of two. He's not adding you anything.
No, but seriously, now let's take a look at India. They'll be the confident side. With the way Australia have struggled yesterday, they will definitely be the more confident team, which they already are. They are already unbeaten.
Yeah, I
They've
mean,
already
they're at
defeated
home.
Australia. Do you think it's another factor? It might just be nitpicking at this point, but Adam Zampa did not have a good game today. India and South Africa are the two teams Adam Zampa did not have good games against in the group stage. So you
Yeah.
think that's sort of coming back to haunt him all of a sudden?
Yeah, I think it's at the back of his mind because, like we talked about the series before this, where Australia played South Africa, he got slapped around. Um, that's when he went for the highest runs in an ODI at that stage until Basteleda overtook him. But yeah, I mean, coming into the India game, he will have thoughts about these guys are good players of spin. What are the lengths I will need to bowl? They've already gotten top of me once. So these are obviously things that will work in his head. Um, Adam Zampa, in his own right, proper top class wrist spinner. But pressure, World Cup final does things to you, man. You gotta be honest with it. That's the reality of sport. When you're at the big stage, you got 100,000 Indians shouting at you to bowl a half tracker. Things can happen.
Can we expect another sort of typical Gujarat pitch?
Yeah, I think it's gonna turn. Um, Especially at this point of the World Cup, where they've played a few games there. You've had a few spikes running around on top of those pitches. Depends on which one Jay Shah wants to play on at the morning of the game too. But yeah, I think it will definitely turn head Maxwell, um, Zampa. will have a lot of work to do because they don't play any other spinner. So yeah, those three will have a lot of work to do. And I mean, at this stage of the World Cup, you take your chance and tell Jadeja and Kuldeep to get you 6, 7 wickets, no, unless Shami has another day.
Shami does play for Gujarat Titans. That's an advantage. And honestly, right now you could probably send Shami to Mars and he will get you five
And you,
wickets. So that's not really a concern.
how many
It's like
five fires has he taken in the World Cup? Three.
this World Cup, I think three. The one against Sri Lanka, New Zealand.
New Zealand, and then the seven for.
No, the
Yeah.
New Zealand one was the seven for
Oh,
which
the New Zealand. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, sorry. The Sri Lanka was the five. Sri Lanka was a five for. Yes. Uh,
just do a quick check.
but yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
Shami's
three,
home
but
ground,
we can't remember
Shubman
which
Gill.
the other one was. It was one against
Yeah,
New
yeah.
Zealand, one against Sri Lanka. So
And then
probably
so,
another one
I think
somewhere.
the first game that he played when he came back into the team. What was that game?
Oh, that was the New Zealand one then.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
So two
Yeah,
against New Zealand, sort of. Yeah,
yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense.
So um, yeah, home IPL home ground for Shubman Gill, um,
And
Shami.
domestic home
Hi,
ground for Bumrah and Jadeja.
yes, domestic home ground for Bumrah and Jadeja, and what's his name? Forgot his name. No, it's not good.
How can you forget any of the Indian players' names currently? They don't let you forget.
I don't know. Yeah, they'll shove it down your throat. Just like they'll shove it down your throat next 4 years if they win the World Cup, which I can't have. I forgot what it
If you think that is bad, imagine what's going to happen to the players if they don't win this match. Just imagine. They
is.
won't hear
What's
the
the
end of
worst
it.
that can happen? What's the
They
worst
won't
that can
hear
happen?
the end of it, my guy. They just won't. And don't ask me
I'm
the
okay with
worst
that.
that can happen.
I'm okay with that.
I'm pretty sure
Honestly,
Sachin Tendulkar still has PTSD from those days, from those 2007 days. Rahul Dravid will let them know subtly what happens if you don't win from here.
yeah, I mean, yo, let's talk about freaking Dravid. When he first came in as a coach, India were slapped up. Everyone thought Dravid's not going to cut it as. Obviously, he has a really good team on hand, but I think unfortunate that they don't have Pandya. He deserved to be here through and through. He's been a big part of their come up in the last 4 years. But yeah, I think thoughts about Dravid, the coach, and his impact.
This was so good to see because Dravid was, of course, vilified after the whole 2007 debacle, and
Yeah.
you could even argue rightly so because he was the captain. He was captaining for almost 2 years before that because the whole
Yes.
Ganguly Chapel episode took place two
Saga.
years
The
before that.
toss. That's toss saga. Yes.
Yes. Uh, After all of that, for him to take up this responsibility first as the under 19 coach, prepare guys like Shubman Gill for this level,
Yeah.
and then it's not just Shubman Gill. There have been a lot of names. There have been the likes of Prithvi Shaw. We're talking Washington Sundar. We're talking
Sarfaraz
Sarfaraz
Khan.
Khan,
Yeah. Yeah.
Ishan Kishan,
Kishan. Prasidh
Rishabh
Krishna.
Pant,
All of these guys. Yeah.
Prasidh Krishna.
And then he took, and then he coached those same guys in India A, where India pre-COVID or even through right after COVID, they had an extensive India A program where teams India A was basically playing at the same time as India everywhere, right? And that has been a big part of why India is the team they are right now because yeah, I mean,
Do you
a lot of
remember
people
their
gotta keep
series used to
signing.
get broadcasted? India A
Yeah, yeah,
playing
yeah,
Australia A,
India,
South Africa
yeah,
A. These used to
yeah.
get
And
broadcasted
then
literally.
they had series with South Africa A and Australia A and India A tri
Everyone could see what's
series.
happening. No secret
Yeah,
there.
no secrets, nothing, no bullshit. Uh,
And
yeah,
then he takes over the national side, as you said. It wasn't a good start. It wasn't a good time up until the Asia Cup, if I'm being honest. Even in the
yeah,
West Indies series beforehand, they didn't have a good time. Uh,
yeah.
they lost one of the games against a team that literally didn't qualify for the World Cup. That looked bad.
Yeah.
And you can imagine how much panic could have gotten into the whole setup. He didn't let any of that get to them because that is Rahul Dravid, right? End of the day, he is the calming presence that you need.
Yeah, 100%. And I think he's got some really good leaders within the team. Who was it yesterday? One of the journalists posted, who's quite close to the Indian team, and he said there's been so much drama and internal team issues elsewhere at the World Cup, mainly Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh, right? But I mean, this is not for any of us to deep dive into. But he said Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, not the best of friends. Virat Kohli's wife, Rohit Sharma's wife, do not get along. That's open secret in Indian cricket. Everyone knows that. But if you look at them on the field, you could never say. If you look at them on the team hotel, you could never say. You look at them at practice, you could never tell, because Rahul Dravid created such an environment and such a culture of trust and team first that a lot of those things just go out the door. Which is what, when Shourav Ganguly was the BCCI president, a lot of chatter about him biting Virat Kohli from the back. Kohli left captaincy because Ganguly was on his ass the whole time. So a lot of these bad culture, I guess, or values were creeping in. But as soon as Rahul Dravid came in as coach, he's like, out the door, none of that
We
bullshit.
saw something very similar 12 years ago with MS Dhoni and Yuvraj Singh, and also MS
Yes,
Dhoni and Virender Sehwag. There were reports that Dhoni had rifts with both these cricketers, and they were
yes,
both big parts of that setup.
yeah,
Sehwag was the vice captain, and in the captaincy hierarchy after him came Yuvraj. So
yes,
that whole setup, even with Gambhir, think about
yeah,
Gambhir
yeah.
as well. All these players had a
Gambhir's still salty about it today.
still salty about it. No, no. See, all these players. If you look at 2011 World Cup, you will never be able to tell there was any rift between them.
No, no,
None
no,
whatsoever. The
none.
way they were playing, like one unit, and
Yeah,
of course, a lot of credit goes for that one to MS Dhoni and to what's his name, Gary Kirsten,
Gary Christian. Yeah,
and right now to Rohit Sharma and Rahul Dravid. And I say
Rahul
Rohit
Dravid.
Sharma because, of course, Virat Kohli as well, KL Rahul as well, all these
100%.
guys. But
Yeah,
Rohit
yeah, but
Sharma, as we've said before, he doesn't complicate anything. He keeps everything super simple. End of the day, he knows that, we're one of the best teams in the world. All that's going on in the background can go on, but we are here to win the World Cup. That's what the fans expect from us, and that's what we expect from ourselves. I
yeah,
personally, I
100%.
myself haven't won the World Cup.
Yeah,
Virat has,
Hair
Ashwin has,
has.
I haven't.
Yeah, I
So
haven't.
I
Yeah,
owe that to myself almost.
yeah,
He might feel,
100%. And we
and
talked
not in a
about that
selfish way,
yesterday.
but
Yeah,
in a way that
yeah.
he gets that for the team. He doesn't get it for himself, literally, right?
No, no, no. And you become a World Cup winning captain. Everyone remembers you for long, long time. People are talking about Kapil Dev winning the World Cup today. They'll be talking about MS Dhoni winning the World Cup for 20 more years. Same thing with Rohit Sharma if he wins it.
Also, I don't want to go there and I don't want to jinx it, but if Rohit does win it, he's going to be the Indian captain to win a World Cup with the least problematic reputation, sort of.
Reputation.
No record of anything
No, no
fishy,
BS. No,
anything
no, nothing. No
scratchy, nothing
fixing
like that,
this,
nothing
that,
shady,
nothing,
nothing
nothing
going on.
shade. No, no. Yeah, I
I
think
mean, there have been accusations, unfortunately, with the other captains. Nothing like that.
nothing.
Hopefully, nothing ever like that with Rohit.
Yeah,
And just to add more on this topic, it feels like they had this whole thing prepared that okay, we're going to have a lot of background noise. There's going to be a lot of people asking for Bumrah's head because he's not playing.
yes,
There's going to be
yes,
a lot of people criticizing Shreyas Iyer, and right, there were a lot of people criticizing Shreyas Iyer
yeah,
because he wasn't playing, and they were saying, What's he doing, roaming around with certain people? I'm not going to name them. Certain people
yeah,
in team
yeah,
hotels here and there. What's he doing?
yeah,
Why is his primary goal not cricket?
yeah,
And here we have Shreyas Iyer playing his best cricket. Virat
yeah.
Kohli again, terrible form up until 2022, like end of
20.
2022.
Yeah,
Picks his form up. Here he is.
yeah. What he's averaging 101 now at the World Cup.
They
But yeah,
they were joking that Rohit is semi-retired. They were saying Shubman Gill can't score outside of Ahmedabad. He has scored everywhere now, and now he just has to score in Ahmedabad. That's
Yeah,
it. Simple
Ahmedabad.
goal.
That's it. That's all they want. Yeah,
All they want.
exactly. Yeah.
Kuldeep
Yeah.
Yadav is back into the whole setup, and he's doing exceptionally well. Bumrah, we've spoken about him. Shami,
Yeah.
again, most fans won't even believe how out of sorts Shami looked just before the World Cup.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that Bangladesh game at the end of the Asia Cup, that dead rubber game, he kind of got slapped around, no?
He did.
Yeah. Yeah. So, to turn that around in 4 weeks essentially speaks a lot about these players and the setup that they belong to. So,
They told Mohammad Siraj to, go back to driving autos
autos,
because his
yes.
father used to do that. His late father used to do that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
see, they went through all these things. They've even spoken about it, but in a way that, they're not whining about it. They could
No,
very easily
no.
do that because these are
Yeah,
hurtful
100%.
comments.
So easy to just get into a shell and cry about it or whine about it, like you said.
They
But they
just spoke
haven't.
about it to inform people that, okay, look, these are what we're going through, and it's okay. We
Yeah.
play for the country, we play for the public, and sometimes these things happen. These things are part and parcel of it. It's
Yeah.
hurtful, yes, but these are also the people who will love us, shower us with all sorts of
SAvAUS.
praises once we win even a single game. It doesn't even have to be a
Yeah.
World Cup. And right
Yeah.
now we're on the brink of winning that World Cup.
That World Cup. Yeah. Yeah.
This is going to
What
be the
happens?
golden
Yes.
generation of Indian cricket, which again, it wouldn't have been even if they lost the semi-final, let's say.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no. I think that's rightly put. And what are your thoughts on how this team will react if batting does go to past Mohammad Shami?
It's going to be tough. That's what Australia will be aiming to do. The
Yeah.
kind of opening bowling success that they had today, I think that's what they will be aiming to uh, sort of recreate in the final
Do you make any changes or
for
with
Australia.
Warner with no India
India,
with Warner head? Do you take any
even
risks?
if some
Ashwin with the new ball.
calamity comes down, I wouldn't make a single change. Even if India's most renowned astrologers tell me that Prasidh Krishna should be playing, I will
Octopus,
not make
Paul the
any change.
Octopus, Paul the Octopus. You might need a Paul the Octopus. Nah, but I think yeah, I mean I think their 11's pretty settled, right? You don't make
I
any
don't think that they
changes
will
to a
even.
winning
I
team.
don't think. I mean, it's PM Narendra Modi Stadium, and PM Narendra Modi himself could come down and ask them to make a change. It won't happen. I
It won't
guarantee you, it
happen.
won't happen.
Yeah.
And again, I can also guarantee you, Modi won't ask them to make the change. But I'm just saying that this is the
It
11 that
is
they're going
not
to use.
like the other places.
No, 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 no.
Eh?
But now my question to you, final question, I suppose. Key player for Australia. Oh, also, I have. Are we in agreement that Australia should just get Stoinis in for Labushin at this point?
Yes. Why not?
Too many X Factor players suddenly, or too
I
many
th- I
players with the
think
license?
no. I think with Stoinis, he bats at 7. English will come in at 5, or even Max will move to 5. English at 6, whatever
Depending on the
it is,
conditions.
depending on the conditions. Maxwell, exceptional player of spin, exceptional player of space. Um, he's not a licensed player as we saw in that Afghanistan game. If he was a licensed player, he would have been out way longer, way earlier. Sorry. So he will take responsibility, and I think a World Cup final is where you can ask him, Maxi, take some responsibility today, and you've got Stoin at the back to come and whack a few if we need. So and then, like we said, he bowls those hard overs in the middle, right? And might get a couple of breakthrough for you. So why not?
Your, I don't know, key player for Australia, and then we're going to come to India.
Travis said, I think, depending on how he gets on, if he gets off to a good start like we saw today, or if he gets off to the kind of start he got against New Zealand in his first game of the World Cup, good luck to everyone.
And
But
just so,
yeah,
again, we're on the same page, we're talking Travis at the all rounder, right? Not just Travis
Travis
at the
said
back.
the all rounder, 100% has to be the all rounder because in this track he has to play a role with the ball. So He takes 2 wickets. He takes 1 wicket, gets Shubman and Kohli, scores 45, 50 runs. Say thank you, Trav, for your services. Go back to curling your mustache, please. That will do for me.
The baggy green, then. You don't even have to do anything in white ball cricket anymore if you don't want to. Or
Who's your pick? Who's your pick for
for
the
Australia,
X Factor? Yeah,
I'm going to go the old fashioned route, not daring too much, I suppose, and say David Warner. Even if he gets a 50 ball 60, it's David
yeah,
Warner for me.
yeah,
Like that day,
yeah,
50 ball 60 could make a massive difference. And he is one of the key players, I say, because he is one of the best players, I think, against Kuldeep Yadav. He's done well against him in every format before. Kuldeep's gotten his number a few times as well,
yeah,
so it's a good
yeah.
matchup. And more importantly, he's played a lot of Kuldeep Yadav in the nets during those Delhi Capital days.
Yes,
So that'll also help.
yeah,
Your
100%.
key player for India. I can literally name all 11 of them, but
No, I think Kuldeep, uh, because he's been through and through a very changed bowler. He's been very positive bowler, very happy to go for a few runs if he can pick up a few wickets. And knowing the batting lineup that Australia does possess, he gets a couple in those middle overs, maybe three, maybe two. That deflates Australia massively, especially if he gets Steve Smith and Maxwell. Takes the life out of that Australian batting lineup easily. So, yeah, I think through and through, Kuldeep's got a big role to play. How about you?
I wanted to say Shami, but with how well he's done, I think all of Australia's plans will almost be around Shami and a
Hmm.
bit around, of course, Kuldeep Yadav and Jadeja. So I'm
Yeah,
going to pick Jasprit Bumrah.
comes good in the final.
Oh
How
no,
many? How many?
Fakhar Zaman will tell you otherwise.
How many? How many wickets does he have at the World Cup this year?
I
Did
mean, he
Bumrah
sort
play
of has
2019? Bumrah played
sort of stopped
2019,
playing World
right?
Cup. Yeah, Bumrah played 2019.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
played really well in 2019 too.
yeah, yeah. I don't think he's gotten that many wickets this year, though. He's
No,
still
no, no.
bowled well.
He's played third fiddle almost, you could say, to Shiraj and
Yeah,
Shami.
Shami. Yeah.
Bowled well, and playing third fiddle, he's picked up 18 wickets in 10 innings. That's exceptionally good.
As third fiddle. That will do for me as a Bangladesh fan. If one of my regular bowlers take that, that will do for me.
He's been it felt like he's been a little expensive, and by expensive I mean he's still conceding at less than 4 runs and over. What are these Indian cricketers, man?
Joke,
What are they doing?
joke, joke.
Does
It's just
Surya Kumar Yadav feel like he's a little out of place here? Not an insult to the guy, but does he feel a little out of place sometimes?
Ishan Kishan for Surya Kumar Yadav. Let's start a petition. Why
I
not?
don't think they'll change the winning combination.
I know they won't, but
It's not a bad
uh,
shout, to be honest. Now,
it's
all
not a
things
bad shot.
considered, it doesn't.
Who cares?
Who cares? Yeah.
Because you're not getting runs either way. But
Yeah.
Ishan Kishan might actually add a few runs, and he's a left-handed option. But I
That's the
think
thing.
Surya's
I don't
leader,
think they
yeah,
might even be tempted to, without changing the 11, they might be tempted to promote Jadeja up if it comes
and
down to it, just so that
yeah,
he can play Zampa better if need
yeah,
be.
if need be, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, what was it? It was against Australia, right? When Surya Kumar debuted in ODIs and got like 2 ducks in a row, 3 ducks in a row
He
last year.
didn't debut though. That was like well after his debut, but
Well,
he had a
after his,
terrible
but
series.
yeah, 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 yeah. No,
The fact
actually,
that they
fair
still
play.
stuck to him after that.
I know, crazy. X Factor player, whatever X Factor players need.
Who knows? It might come in clutch in the final. Everyone else has performed, so might as well be
So
his
why
day.
not? Yeah, might be
Right, Fardin, thank you very much. I think we have pretty much concluded our discussion, and safe to say, right now, India look firm favorites.
firm
Wouldn't call
favorite.
it an
Yes.
upset if the results go other way, but you never know.
If I will take it any day if Australia does clinch the victory. So
Mission Hexa, I suppose.
Nation Hexa. Yeah. All right. Thank you.